Hello guys, I explained to you what was the purpose of my first episode, but first I would like to tell you what disappointed me. Many of you took the film personally. You talk guys that I talking about atheist people and moral values. You felt strongly that you must protect the value of the atheism. From the moment that I start to question my faith because of the comments and the critics what atheist people do, I start to think that maybe they are right. And everything what I have learned over Christianity is a lie. From that moment I always pay attention what atheist people say about Christianity, because they reveal things what I cannot hear from priests or religious people. A few weeks ago I have found a blog from a secular humanist. I start to read it, but because of the lack of time that I have, I don't know when can I finish that blog. That is the reason why I also with my films go so slow, because of the lack of time. So this is my new hobby, reading what atheist people tells about religions. During the readings of the comments I have discovered a mistake what atheist people continuously do, and I decided to reveal it. I thought if I talk about the ideology of the atheism, then atheist people gonna realize the mistake. Unfortunately, my video hit them hard, and they start to protect the value of the atheism. I saw that many of you jumped in the wrong conclusion and wasn't able to do a debate in a proper way. For me, a debate is an interesting journey to find the truth. Unfortunately, as I have discovered, for many of you, debate is a competition, which competition has to be won, even by the cost of the truth. This is what disappointed me. Now let's see what's the point of my first episode of the atheism. I like to call the things in a correct way, but of course I'm also not perfect. I noticed that atheist people using the word atheist many times in a wrong term. When atheist people talk, then often they connect moral values to the word atheist. The word atheist means that you do not believe in God, nothing more. This means that the word atheist is a collective concept, just like the words religious, animals or cars and so on. If you say that you are an atheist, that can mean that you are a humanist or nihilist or something else. If you say that you are religious, that can mean that you are Christian or Muslim or Jew and so on. So my goal with my previous video is to point it out: when you talk about yourself or moral values, better to say it precisely who you are or about what type of people you talk. Do not use a collective concept to describe yourself, because collective concepts has no moral values. When you talk about the moral values of atheists, that sounds like a person who talks about the values of cars. What values can have a car? Low emission rate? Well, depends of the type of the car. What values can have an atheist? Helpful attitude? Well, depends of the type of atheist person. What abilities has animals? Can animals fly? Well, it depends of the animal. What are the religious values? Well, this also depends of the type of the religion. So this is the reason why I have made my previous film and this one, to point it out, to use the correct concept when you talk about yourself or moral values, and to test if my conclusion was correct. Example, say birds can fly instead to say animals can fly. Nihilists do not care instead to say atheists do not care. Sport cars are low instead to say cars are low. In the first episode I have described the ideology of atheism. That is the reason why I said that an atheist person can be a serial killer or a helpful person, because the word atheist is a collective concept. Another reason why I have made my first episode in a way how you saw it, because I often read in comments that religious people are not logical and they are not realistic. So that film was a test, and many of you failed it. You start to protect the values of the atheism when all of you know that a collective concept cannot have moral values. I didn't say that religious people are better or they cannot be serial killers. That was your conclusion, because you overreact the truth and wasn't able to stay objective. So what is the conclusion of this test? The conclusion is that just like the religious people, atheist people do the same mistake. When atheist people judging religious people in a debate, they can be very analytic and objective over a certain type of religions. When the topic comes to atheism, they're losing their objectivity, just like religious people do. I think this is a basic human behavior, that we humans judge each other very well, but when we have to judge ourselves, we misjudge ourselves, because we are humans. I would like to mention one more thing. I have read a comment that in my previous video I said that atheist people can do what they want because there is no God who's gonna punish them. So the conclusion is that religious people do not sin because they're afraid of the consequences. I would like to discuss this topic a little bit. My goal is to point it out that religious people has a moral foundation which cannot be changed. An atheist person can change his moral values each day if he wants, because the foundation of his moral values created by himself or by another person, example his parents. He has the right to change the foundation of his moral values because the foundation were created by human. A religious person cannot change his moral values because the foundation, let's say, created by God. And as you know, a person is not equal with God. So a person cannot judge God. He don't have the right to do that. But in atheism, the situation is different. A human can judge always another human or himself. It is true that a religious person has a fear to violate the moral values, which values were created by God. But at the same time, the reason why the person do not violate those rules, because the person loves his God. And as you know, if you love someone, you do not want to hurt him. In atheism, the situation is the same. You do not gonna hurt your friends because you love them, but at the same time, you also afraid to hurt them because of the consequences, right? This is one of the things what I tried to explain in my previous film, but I was talking only over the moral values of the atheism. I mean, the foundation, but I wasn't so detailed. Now I would like to give you a task. What do you think? Is it possible to make them people to realize that God do not exist? Example, in the next 50 or 100 years. I mean globally. Is it possible for humanity to change his mind and to realize that God do not exist? If you think yes, please explain it. Why do you think it's possible? And if you think it's not possible, then please explain me that also, because this is the topic of my next video. Thank you for your attention.